Hey, Foundry Groups, it is good to be with you guys again. I cannot believe it. This is our last week before Christmas. So after this week, we've got 2 weeks off for Christmas and New Year's. And I just hope you guys have been able to enjoy this year so far together. And I cannot wait for what comes next year in groups. So stay tuned for that. We've got some exciting stuff happening even next year that we're starting to plan already. So stay tuned for some more information later on that. But we right now are in a series called The Christmas Files. And we've been looking through the Old Testament throughout this past year. And in this series, we're looking specifically at how the prophecies point to the coming Messiah and how Jesus is the answer to all of those prophecies. So throughout this series, we've been asking different questions of the who, the why, the what, the when, the where, like all of those questions, and how there's one person that answers all of those things. This week, Pastor Eric answered the questions of where. Because throughout the Old Testament, there are different prophecies in different books that speak to the where. So for the people in that day and age, it didn't make a lot of sense because, let's see here, like Isaiah would speak about the branch coming from Jesse, which pointed to him being a Nazarene. Hosea, the prophet Hosea said, out of Egypt I would call my son. So it's not only from Nazareth, it's not only from Egypt, but then there's another prophecy that comes out of Micah that says, come, O Bethlehem. And it's like, how do all of these places, these where locations, how do those all point to one person? And what we find is that it cannot happen unless God is running it and God is in charge. So over the course of the message, we figured out that Jesus is the very answer to all of these things. And at the end of the day, we understand that Jesus, he was ridiculed, he was despised, ignored, and rejected so that we could be encouraged, loved, pursued, and accepted. And with all that being said, we're going to jump right into groups questions. And I want to start off with the teaser question, the icebreaker, about where are you from? And see who may be the furthest away from the Foundry. Like, where were you born? What was the farthest person in your small group away from the Foundry? When we think about mainstream media, the stories about origin have become increasingly popular. You look at stories that were created, and then there's more movies that are created to tell more of the origin. Where did they come from? Why did they come from there? Why are they like the way they are? So origin does have significance. Why do you think it matters so much where someone has come from? When you think about your personal life, what things about your origin story have impacted you? All right, if you listen close enough in the recap, you'll get this one pretty easily. But what were the 3 places that the Jewish people believed the Messiah would be from? When we think about the Christmas story, we naturally think of Bethlehem. And that is often the go-to answer for the birth and the town of Christ. What did Eric share in his message that is significant about this town, the little town of Bethlehem? Do you ever feel small and insignificant like the least of these clans of Judah? Do you think God delights in using the obscure and unnoticed for his purposes? If you heard in the message, Bethlehem actually means the house of bread. What does Jesus mean when he says he is the bread of life? And what does that mean to you? In Matthew 2, there's a few verses I want you to read out of 19 through 23, as well as 7 through 12. That'll help us answer the next questions. And as always, if you're not, you can pull out your phone. Make sure you're not just texting or scrolling Facebook. But if you go under the Church Center app, under groups, all the resources are through there. So if you want, you can even pull up all these questions, and the verses are on that page as well. So feel free to read through these two passages as a group, and then we'll answer a few more questions. What was significant about Jesus coming out of Egypt? Why do you think God chose to foreshadow so much throughout the Old Testament? When we think about the story of Joseph and Mary and understand the process they had to go through to flee to Egypt with their son Jesus, I want you to put yourself in their shoes. How would that impact your faith in what God had said about who your son was going to be? Would that impact your faith, and if so, how? All right, groups, as we wrap up today, always go around the room. If there's any prayer requests, there's something just beautiful about close groups like you have, lifting each other up in prayer. As always, head on to leaders, go on to the app and check everybody in. We love to know who's in groups with us. And if you guys have some more time, take a look at the Digging Deeper section, because throughout the New Testament here that we've seen so far, a lot of the focus has been towards the Jewish people, the ones who know the Old Testament and know the prophecies and how they point to Jesus. But it's not just for the Jews. The story of Jesus is not just for the Jews. There's the Gentiles, and they are to be grafted in a special way. So take a look at the Digging Deeper section there if you got some time. Otherwise, I hope you guys all have a great Christmas, a happy New Year, and we will see you in 2023. Oh my word, it's happening. All right, have a good week, guys.